Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to speak here today. I'm just delighted to be part of IDEAL. Just disappointed I'm not with you in Amsterdam, but we do hope this will happen at some point. So first of all, I'm going to share my slide deck, so hopefully that'll work well. If you just bear with me while I share. Okay, so that should be my slide deck now.
Excellent.
Super, thank you for that. So yes, thank you. I'm going to talk today about what outcomes matter when we want to evaluate robot-assisted surgery. And this is a venture that is being conducted by ourselves in the University of Aberdeen, also the University of Oxford and NHS Grampian in Aberdeen as well. And it's called the RoboCost project. And the team there it's led by Shafaq Sheikh, who's a colorectal surgeon, robotic surgeon. Also involves Claire Robertson, Katie Gillies from Oxford. It involves David Beard and Patrick Garfield Roberts. We have a service manager involved as well, Cameron Matthew, and a patient partner. So a little bit of context to start. So as you've just heard in Mark's talk and earlier, robotic-assisted surgery is expected to expand rapidly. And from what you've heard, you see it's a whole system transformation. It's not just a drug that we're introducing here. It requires surgeons to be trained differently. It requires a different setup, often in the operating theatre, sometimes requires new physical infrastructure. So it really is important that the demonstration of significant advantages and disadvantages is really crucial to hospitals and organisations wanting to start this technology. Unfortunately, though, there's no standardised or agreed upon outcome measures to be used. So Mark mentioned different clinical trials measuring different things. But there's no agreed standard what's important to different stakeholders, and that's really the background to this study. So we want to develop a core outcome set for any evaluation of robot-assisted surgery, trial or not, but most importantly to reflect this whole system impact. Most of the studies today are purely looked at clinical only, and I think it's really important that we reflect the whole system here. Also of note is that system-level core outcome sets are rare. I think there's only been one previously reported, and therefore it's important that we adopt new methodology to undertake this. So because we're looking at the whole system, we want to explore what outcomes stakeholders believe are important in this context, but we're looking at multiple levels. We're looking at the level of the individual patient, the level of the surgical team, the level of the system or the hospital that's undertaking this new technology, and also at the level of society, because actually such a radical transformation can have major impact for society and healthcare at a high regional or national level. So as per normal practice, we do want to identify what outcomes have been reported to date. And what we're going to do is make all of those outcomes freely available in an item bank that anybody can access and see what has been used before. So that if you're looking in a specific procedure or a specific specialty, you will know what outcomes have been available to date. But also to conduct a Delphi consensus process by which we can identify this very core set of outcomes that is essential to be measured to get this whole systems perspective. And our project is registered on COMET, the Core Outcome Set website. So we started with what people have done before, and we were really fortunate. So David Beard's group in Oxford had already undertaken a pan-specialty review of all randomized trials undertaken in the field of robotic-assisted surgery. That was published in BJ's Open. So we had all the outcomes already classified from those 183 trials. But they were mainly looking at clinical outcomes at the patient level. So to get that more organisational feel, we also explored international health technology assessment reports, which are much more based at that policy level. So we explored the database of health technology assessments in INATAS, that's the international agency, and found 34 had been looking at the evaluation of robotic-assisted surgical systems there. Similarly, there was an in-depth process evaluation study of the ROLAR trial, which has really examined deeply what surgical, operational, organisational outcomes had been important in the introduction of robotic surgery. What's also really important is there's no point just looking at what's been done before, because they may have missed really important outcomes. So we've also undertaken a suite of interviews with surgeons, with nurses, with service managers, with international health technology assessment experts. But actually, listening to Mark earlier, he mentioned the importance of the low and middle income country perspectives. And we also included 2 surgeons from low and middle income countries to ensure that we got that perspective in play as well. And obviously, crucially important is patient and public engagement. And this is our patient focus group, a picture of them on the side here. And we had 8 participants advising us on what was important to them about robotic assisted surgery. So what have we found? Well, as you can see, we've found many outcomes have been used in the past to look at robot-assisted surgery. There have been over 400 patient outcomes, almost 100 surgeon outcomes, 180 organizational outcomes, and 17 population outcomes. We were actually surprised how many outcomes had been used in the past, but no consistency, no comparability across studies, and very, very disparate. So we're in the process of putting all these together into that major item bank, which we will make publicly available, and that will be available shortly. What we're now doing is looking at trying to get consensus, taking those 1,000-odd outcomes and actually saying what are the absolutely crucial outcomes that we need to include in this. And so we're planning a 2-round Delphi where we'll present a range of these outcomes, get them scored, and then provide feedback to stakeholders between rounds. So we've gone through all those 1,000+ outcomes and classified them in a more conceptual manner. So there were many different ways of classifying different complications. So we've come up with a sort of conceptual level assessment of it. So we've collapsed that down into 83 possible outcome concepts for people to score on their level of importance. 37 at the patient level, 17 outcome at the surgeon level, 23 at the organisation, and 6 at that population level. So here's some examples to give you an idea of what happens at these levels. Patients, straightforward, as you'd expect, complications, length of stay, quality of life. Then moving to the surgeon, there's issues about visualization, operative control, impact on physical impact, cognitive impact, situational awareness. Organisationally, it's looking at cost, waiting list, interesting dimensions such as staff motivation, impact on staff training. And then at the population level, it's looking at things like equity of access for a population, impact on burden of illness, impact on global caregiver burden. So the Delphi has been set up. It's a standard Delphi, and we'll be asking people to score all these outcomes from a scale of not important, 1, 2, 3, important but not critical, 4, 5, 6, critical, 7, 8, 9. And what we want is a whole range of stakeholders to be able to measure and contribute to this. So we're ready. We're ready to go live with the Delphi. We are going live with it on Monday, and we need you. All of you have a voice in this. You're either surgeons, evaluators, patients, public, industry. We want to know your views because any core outcome set has got to reflect the stakeholder views across the piece. So I will be on Monday putting the link to this Delphi up on my Twitter feed, and I'll send it to Ideal. So I really urge you all to take part, and so we can all own this system. And just finally, what will that mean for us? We will have a final consensus meeting in June and then move to publish that core outcome set in the summer of this year. So I'll leave it there. Very happy to answer questions, but I'm leaving my Twitter notification there as well, so that you can contact me on Monday and participate in the Delphi. I'll leave it there and I'll stop sharing my screen.